What other game could we possibly be talking about this year on Halloween Day than one of my favorite classic games on the GameCube, Luigi's Mansion? Yes, this game technically had a remake for the 3DS not too long ago, but finally after 22 long years, we get the original Luigi's Mansion on modern hardware with the Nintendo Switch 2's NSO GameCube expansion pack. But 22 years later, and with 2 brand new games in the series since then, how good does the first game still hold up? A lot of people still hold the first game in the series as the best one in the entire series, and I'm not necessarily sure I would say the same, but I definitely think Luigi's Mansion 1 was more fun and more memorable for me than Luigi's Mansion 2 by a long shot. And as someone who's played the first game like 10 times, I see very clearly why people love this game so much. It just felt completely different, and it's because it was. In fact, the first game was not made by Intelligent Systems, but instead was developed in-house by Nintendo themselves, so it had a slightly different feel to it. After learning the basics of the game from EGAD while also doing so to his strangely erotic music, pretty much take off all the reins and set you free within the mansion to figure out what to do on your own, which is something that modern games just feel like they cannot do. Like, they gotta freaking hold your hand with everything and show you exactly what you're supposed to do. But as we start our journey, the first thing I'll always remember when starting this game is just how dark it is. Like, it is so much darker in tone and just straight up in lighting compared to Luigi's Mansion 2 and 3. I mean, everything about this game just gave me chills as a kid. I remember genuinely being scared to play this game alone at night because, man, it was just creepy for a Nintendo game. With 2 and 3, and especially 2, the lighting just feels like everything is lit. Like, all the lights are on, all the candles are shining, and it just doesn't really give off a creepy vibe. Plus, all the ghosts in this game are like, hee, look at me, I'm a ghost, haha, I'm a silly little ghost, I pulled down your pants, Luigi. In Luigi's Mansion 1, there is none of this. The ghosts are simply there to kill Luigi, punching him, rolling bowling balls into his feet, or simply dropping bombs from the ceiling on his head. They're still silly in their design and nature, like there's a ghost that literally just eats bananas and drops banana peels, but at the same time, they're also threatening, where there's not a single instance where I think any of the ghosts from the second or the third game genuinely gave me some fear, but the ghosts in the first one, still to this day, I get a little bit of a pullback when I hear that sound of them appearing. But one of my favorite parts of this game that you experience almost right away in your journey is the portrait ghost. This giant family of ghosts that lives in this mansion and actually have lives and are all doing their own thing. And this is where this game kind of spins its own little puzzles in order for you to take down each boss. For the mom Lydia, you have to open up the blinds in order to let the cold breeze come in, which would expose her heart, allowing you to suck her up. For Biff Atlas, you have to hit him with a punching bag 3 times to knock him out. For Shivers, you have to light his candles in order for him to sit on them? What is he doing? No, seriously, to this day, I have no clue what he's doing. What is he doing? So when it comes to either trying to advance to the next room or find a key or even take down a boss ghost or maybe just collect some treasure, you're going to be shaking and moving things around all over the room. For the first kind of chapter of this game, you finish it off by bullying a baby and bouncing a ball off his dome. You then take all the ghosts back to EGAD where he, experiments on them. We then start making our way to the main plot of the game and finding the main antagonist with a really cool hidden switch that you can only see through a mirror, which then just opens up a floorboard full of boos and King Boo himself, which leads to the worst part of the game. Each room now has a boo for you to find, and I believe you only need around 40 to 45 in order to complete the game, but if you're a real gamer, you're gonna find all 50. It is kind of cool that each boo has their own name, like this one's Taboo or Boolicious. This one says, do you want to play Game Boo Advance? Get it? Some of them are pretty clever, can't lie. But in the beginning of the game, they're really not that bad. It's towards the middle and the end of the game where they become an absolute terror. I hate them. I'll get into them later. But we continue on. There's a toad crying in the bathroom. There's a couple really unique rooms of how we catch ghosts that uses reflections or shadows through a wall or through a mirror. This game also has something that for some reason was never brought back in 2 or 3, which is elemental powers. Luigi can collect these medallions that allows him to spray water, fire, or even ice, which affects certain specific ghosts and also allows you to enter new areas. Speaking of new areas, some of my favorites are going outside and hearing the soft piano music compared to the original inside, and also you can have a little section halfway through where you get to peek inside this kind of chamber dungeon area where Mario's being held captive. I don't know, I feel like Luigi can fit through that mouth. It also cracks me up how King Boo just sits there like mocking Mario the entire time. Yeah, that's right, you mine. You ain't leaving. Yeah, keep banging on that picture, he ain't coming. We find another toad crying in an outhouse. What's wrong with these toads? And take out even more portrait ghosts like Nano, which used to freak me out as a kid. I don't know, something about an old grandma ghost is just terrifying. And also, she makes this weird sound. I don't even feel bad for picking on her though, because clearly she ain't need that rocking chair. One of my favorite portrait ghosts was the twins, Henry and Orville, while one was driving a car trying to run you over, the other was flying a plane and dropping bombs from the ceiling. Like, these kids are bad, man. Then you'll get to this observatory room where it'll like warp you to this like nighttime sky, and you can actually blast a star into the moon into the background in order to reveal a path to find Mario's star. Does Mario have like one specific star on him all the time? What? But you also come across tons of other Mario items like his hat, his gloves, I think even his shoe. A lot of people don't know this, but you can also find Mario's underwear as well. It's a hidden item. You just gotta go back and talk to that toad in the bathroom 67 times. Now you gotta bring all these items back to Madame Clairvoyant, one of the only portrait ghosts in the game that actually helps you throughout your journey. And after you deliver the very last item from Mario, you have one of the craziest boss battles I've ever seen in a Nintendo game. Yeah, that's it. She just lets you take her away. We then make it all the way to the balcony before we remember, oh yeah, we gotta go water that flower again on the first floor. And then we go back up. Now, outside of the portrait ghost, this game actually has like 3 real boss battles, but none of them are that great, especially Boolossus. I absolutely hate this boss because you have to spray all these stray boos with ice after you slam it into the unicorn's horn. The problem, the boos just fly wherever they want, and it's almost impossible to hit them when there's a couple left. I mean, it's genuinely some of the most frustrating stuff ever. I told you I hate boos in this game. You take all the ghosts back to Egad again for his research, and then they spawn you at the front of the mansion again. Why? We had to go all the way back up to the 3rd floor. I'm gonna lose my mind. Luigi's Mansion 2 did a mission approach where it wasn't kind of an open-ended game where you could go wherever you want. It was based on missions. Now Luigi's Mansion 3 kind of went back to the original formula, but the first game was truly open. There was no loading screens to get to the next floor, the next area. You could go wherever you want. The entire mansion was kind of like a mini open world. But the problem with this was running back and forth between the top floor, the bottom floor, the basement, to the roof. It was super annoying, especially if you don't know about the secret key in the workout room, because this literally makes running back and forth cut in half, and it's a very well hidden key where you have to run on the treadmill in order to get it to spawn. But as much as I played this game, I forgot all about this key again, and I often do. I don't know why, which led me to walk super long paths back and forth. I mean, literally, you make your way all the way to the balcony, beat Boolossus, they spawn you back at the first floor, you make your way all the way back to the balcony once again just for the power to go out and Egad to call you and say, hey, you need to go all the way back down to the basement in order to flip the breaker. Now, I will say this was a pretty cool part, how the entire mansion is now pitch black like it was at the very beginning, and now ghosts spawn like 3 times more likely, so they're going to spawn every 3 steps, which can also be a pain because they're constantly scaring you, which is stopping your momentum. So you get all the way to the basement, flip the breaker, and guess where you gotta go next? That's right, after doing some things in the basement, you have to come all the way back up to the roof. Right when you get past that halfway mark of the game, this game starts to drag with how much you're moving around this mansion, just running through past hallways, trying to get to the next area over and over again. A door will unlock on the 3rd floor, which then will give you a subsequent key to unlock a door on the 1st floor, and it's just back and forth, not to mention areas that you'll have to revisit in order to get tons of jewelry and gold in order to get the best rank mansion at the end. Now, do you remember when I said the boos were like the worst thing in the world? I truly mean it with this game. Later in the game, they have a lot more health, which means it's going to take you a lot longer to catch them, which also means they can now leave the room, and they will fly into hallways, into previous rooms, or just disappear into somewhere that you have no clue and you have to go back through past rooms in order to find. And sometimes they do this extremely quick, over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. I genuinely do not understand what the devs were thinking when they decided to implement this. There's some situations where the ghost will go into a specific room where you'll have to go on a hike just to get to that room, just to go back to the previous room again, because that's where he's going to fly into. Like this area where there's sand all over the room, so you're forced to take up sand from one area, flip to the ceiling, walk all the way around the gates, flip back down to the ground, go into the next room just to try to get the boo, who's going to go back to that previous room once again in like 10 seconds. It's just, oh! I do wonder if this whole boo thing was just for them to add more time to this game, because with all the boos and everything that this game has to offer, you can probably beat the game in about 3.5 hours to 4 hours. Probably a lot faster too if you know what you're doing. But I'm just like, how do they playtest this and say, yeah, this is great? Yes, I made you watch that entire thing. Now you understand. Feel my pain. We then drown a little ghost girl in her sleep, take out a painter and ruin his lifelong work, and we fight King Boo in a Bowser costume. But after completing this game again for like the 10th time, is it as good as what people think it is? I mean, a lot of people still think it's their favorite Luigi's Mansion game out of the entire trilogy, and I just cannot see how that's possible. Once again, as far as comparing it to the second game, I just think it's still miles better. It has a better, darker atmosphere, portrait ghosts, it doesn't have stupid mission structure or anything like that. It's more open-ended, and just collecting the ghost feels a lot better. And in fact, I think it does things way better than 3 as well. I think it has a better, darker tone than Luigi's Mansion 3, which is a good thing, and I also still really love the way you suck up ghosts in this game. It feels like you're reeling in a giant fish, and it just has more of an awesome feeling compared to just picking them up and slamming them over and over again. It was cool the first couple of times, but after doing that over and over again in Luigi's Mansion 3, I really just missed the classic feel of dragging a ghost around the room in order to capture it in one go. But that's not to say Luigi's Mansion 2 didn't offer anything to really progress the series. Like, for instance, the strobe and dark lights are two really amazing additions to the game. The strobe light is one of my favorite ways to spot a ghost, and it's a lot better than just shining your flashlight like from the first game. So combining the strobe light of 2 with the reeling in of the ghost from 1, I really think you could have a really great formula. But with all those positives, the game does have some negatives. With the extremely tedious backtracking and finding all those stupid boos as they're going from room to room, it really chugs the game and you really feel it. Yes, it's one giant open-ended mansion, which is fun to move around in, but just getting from the top floor to the bottom floor over and over and over again is a drag that I just cannot stand. It also doesn't help the case that the game is so incredibly short. I mean, it is like a fraction of a fraction the size of Luigi's Mansion 3. Like I said, most people will beat this game in about 4 to 5 hours. With Luigi's Mansion 3, it might take you upwards of 20 hours to fully beat the game and see everything that it has to offer. But with the original Luigi's Mansion being one of the first games I ever played, a huge bag of nostalgia for me, and a game that I would always say was one of my favorite Nintendo games, Luigi's Mansion 3 in my eyes surpassed it in almost every single way. Truly, if Luigi's Mansion 3 just had a darker tone to its lighting and its vibe, I feel like it would have been one of the most perfect versions of Luigi's Mansion we could have ever gotten. Breaking the series back down to a single mansion after the first game that isn't quite open world, it's more sectioned off with loading screens to go from each floor, but still it feels open world. It feels like one giant mansion, and it gives off that illusion thanks to the elevator. Ghost gameplay may not be as addicting as the first game, at least for me, but it's still really intuitive and a great addition to slam ghosts into each other and kind of have combo attacks. The addition of Gooigi that makes for some truly incredible puzzles and boss battle fights, because yes, the portrait ghosts return as boss ghosts in this game, and every single one of them has a unique way to take it out, which just feels like a more fleshed out idea from the first game. Luigi's Mansion 3 is truly a spectacle when it comes to its graphics and just the way that it plays. It's just such a fun, inviting game that I can go back and replay over and over again, very similarly to the first game. So does the first game hold up this many years later? Yes and no. I feel like if you just want to play a quick little fun game, it's definitely going to be a game that you enjoy and you can easily pick up and play. But if you're looking to soak in lots of hours into a brand new title, this may not be it, because you're going to beat it in probably one sitting or just a single weekend. So I am truly so excited to see where the series is going forward with Luigi's Mansion 4, because after what they did with 3, they have surpassed my expectations well beyond what I ever imagined they would be. But Luigi's Mansion 1 will always have a special place in my heart. It's one of my favorite games and one of the first games I ever played growing up as a kid alongside Super Mario Sunshine, so I was super glad to be able to play it just yet again one more time on the Nintendo Switch 2.